If you're genuinely applying empathy and the other side won't let it land, and that happens, what they're telling you is they're never going to collaborate, and they're probably always intended to victimize you. How am I supposed to do that is really an implementation question. I'm trying to get you to recognize that what you asked me to do, the implementation is either difficult or impossible.
If I make you feel heard by me saying to you what your perspective on something is, you're going to feel cared for, you're going to feel understood. It's going to land with you really well. From the experience on hostage negotiators is that people largely react negatively. So the smarter move for me, instead of reinforce a positive, is to first deactivate the negative. Say,
the active application, even a proactive application of empathy, a demonstration of understanding. Most definitions of empathy, if I agree with the definition, first of all, it's not sympathy, it's not compassion. Empathy is a very compassionate thing to do. Empathy is about the transmission of information. Compassion is the reaction to that transmission. So it's a compassionate thing to do, but it's not compassion. So first of all, if you just define it as really understanding where the other side's coming from, not where you wish they were coming from, where they really are coming from. And then articulating it. Most definitions of empathy don't require you to say it out loud. Seeing it from their perspective. There's nothing in that definition that calls for you to articulate it. And even definition of cognitive empathy, which is really close to tactical empathy, he doesn't say anything about you expressing it out loud, where you basically, what you think the other person's perspective is, you express it to them, and then they either tell you you're right, they say that's right, or they adjust, and then it becomes a loop of feedback of understanding, because we needed to express it. Many people think empathy is if I see your perspective, then that'll simply inform my argument. I'll make a better argument, I'll make a better pitch. Well, there's an intervening step that you haven't checked to see if you're right, and that's expressing it. Now, why do I call it tactical? Where'd that come from? Some of it was to get people that didn't want to be empathic to use it. Like if empathy is soft, if it's weak, and it's not. But if they're scared of it because they don't want to be soft, they try to teach Navy SEALs meditation or box breathing. And the SEALs are like, we're not doing that. It's not tough. So then they took the meditative breathing and they called it tactical breathing. And the SEALs go, yeah, we'll do that. It's the same thing. It's not weak. I can't be weak. I got to be tactical. And then since I really coined the term before I knew much about neuroscience, but I've tried to learn as much as I can, not being a scientist. Let's tactically apply empathy to the way neuroscience tells us the brain works. And by and large, a layman's definition is the brain is 75% negative, number one. Your default mode of being is survival. And the caveman survived by being pessimists. The optimistic caveman got eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. The pessimist was like, hey, my buddy got eaten by that tiger yesterday, I'm staying away from him. Our survival mode, which is not success thinking, survival thinking is negative. And the neuroscientists pretty much back us up on that. They don't like how I got there, but they don't disagree with my conclusion. Then, if your brain is 75% negative, what do I do about it? Do I pitch the positive? Well, that's an uphill battle. The faster move is to deactivate the negative. So then neuroscience also tells us how to deactivate the negative by calling it out. Calling out the elephant in the room. Don't deny the elephant in the room. Don't ignore the elephant in the room. If I'm getting ready to say something that I know you're not going to like, instead of me saying, look, I don't want this to sound disrespectful, that's a denial of the elephant in the room. Instead, if I say, it's going to sound disrespectful, you'll listen, and I will have deactivated that negative reaction. So there's a 2 millimeter shift to simply calling something out. And the neuroscience backs that up. So how do we apply neuroscience to our communication? That's what tactical empathy is about. First, a small stakes interaction. I'm in Whole Foods the other day. And I also like to leave people better than I found them. I don't want to leave friction behind me. So I order up the salmon, and the guy weighs it and packages it and gets it all ready and puts the sticker on it. And I see a different bunch of salmon than I want. And I don't want the salmon that he just went through all this trouble of making for me. So he's gonna swap it out anyway, but I don't want him thinking I'm a jerk. I don't want him being more negative for the next person that's coming along. Plus, I want him to do this as quickly as possible. I would like to have an instantaneous compliance versus, oh my God, what am I gonna do with this? I'm a very time-oriented person. So I look at this guy and I go like, look, man, I'm gonna seem like a complete jerk. I don't want that salmon anymore, I want this salmon. He goes, oh, okay. And he just pops it out of the bag, throws the bag away, doesn't bat an eye, quickly swaps me out, and I'm on my way. Because I know that if he's just done what I've asked him to do, and suddenly now I'm this bozo who wasn't paying attention and realized that 12 inches away was the salmon I really wanted, he's gonna be annoyed, I'm gonna leave him in a negative place, and at least he's gonna delay swapping me out. And the next person's gonna have to pay for this. So I've just made a negative deposit in the karma bank. Instead, I wanna get swapped out as quickly as possible, move on my way. What's his reaction? This guy's a jerk. So what do? I call it out in advance. Look, I know I'm gonna seem like a complete jerk. He doesn't bat an eye and he swaps me right out. It works every time. It works every time. Well, I learned it from the suicide hotline, and there's a bit of an infamous phrase. Like, if I need you to comply right now, and I cannot waste time on your negative pushback, what I need to go is I need to go as deep as possible with a label for me so that you don't go there. And I learned from labeling on a suicide hotline, you just call a negative out. It'll not go your way either if you miss the mark, if you try to pull your punches. If you're genuinely applying empathy and the other side won't let it land, and that happens, what they're telling you is they're never gonna collaborate. And they're probably always intended to victimize you. And so they put up an armor against empathy. They don't want the empathy to land. So it's not that it doesn't not work. It might give me an answer I didn't expect. And I got to read the answer. Empathy is a diagnostic. Empathy is a way to reason. It's a way to think something through. It's a way to have a hypothesis. So if I lead with empathy and you won't let it land, that actually tells me a lot about you. And I need to know that information. One of the more famous phrases is where the answer is, how am I supposed to do that? Somebody asks you to do something really ridiculous. This question forced empathy. If I say, how am I supposed to do that? That's designed to make you look at me and assess my situation. How am I supposed to do that is really an implementation question. I'm trying to get you to recognize that what you asked me to do, the implementation is either difficult or impossible. And it works more than 8 times out of 10 to immediately change the situation. What happens when it doesn't work? What does that tell you? Because it's so effective that if it doesn't work, most of the people are used to it magically changing things instantaneously. They say, well, I tried, how am I supposed to do that? And it didn't work. The other person says, that's your problem. I said, no, it's not that it didn't work. It just tells you that that person doesn't care about you at all. You tried to get them to look at you and just assess your situation and see how hard it is. And the other person doesn't care. That's great information. You need to know that the other person doesn't care about you at all. One of the business people that I know used it in an interaction. His counterpart said, I don't care if you get fired over this deal. I don't care what happens to you. You either do it or I walk. That person is telling you they're a horrible business partner. That's great information to have. You went from wondering if they're toxic to knowing it.
A lot of people use empathy in a lot of different ways, sort of for their own meanings. So my take on empathy, tactical empathy is about the transmission of information. Compassion is the reaction to the transmission. So, and that was when I was with the FBI, we started collaborating with Harvard because the Harvard definition was empathy was not liking the other side. It was just demonstrating an understanding of their perspective. The tension between empathy and assertiveness. Empathy is not agreeing, disagreeing, or even liking the other side, which sort of falls into what's, it's about the transmission of information. Now, empathy is a very compassionate thing to do, but it doesn't necessarily equate to compassion itself. If I make you feel heard by me saying to you what your perspective on something is, you're going to feel cared for. You're going to feel understood. It's going to land with you really well. I don't necessarily have to feel compassion for you. I know it's a precursor to compassion. So I would separate it from sympathy, clearly, and I would even separate it from compassion, although I know it's a very compassionate thing to do. It's about tactical empathy is about me actively demonstrating verbally to you that I understand where you're coming from. Tactic from the experience in hostage negotiators, backed up by neuroscience, is that people largely react negatively. So the smarter move for me, instead of reinforce a positive, is to first deactivate the negative. Say, probably going to sound like I'm greedy. If I expect that you're going to think I'm overreaching, I'm not going to say, I don't want you to think I'm greedy. I'm going to say, it's probably going to seem greedy. So simply well-educated emotional intelligence influence, gut instinct influence on what the other side is thinking and feeling. If I can define it in that way, then it becomes an unlimited skill. If it requires me to have compassion for you when I don't, then that limits my ability to use empathy. And I'm not interested in having that ability to be limited. I want it to be an unlimited skill. So if you just define it strictly in terms of transmission of information, then it's not sympathy or compassion or liking or agreeing. It has a very powerful effect. It at least feels like compassion to the other side. It reacts with the emotional circuitry, the neurochemicals that everybody has to some degree if they're alive, even if they're on the spectrum. They have some of that going on inside. And of what I've read on even the mental illnesses, in my last century training, I saw people who were paranoid schizophrenic as effectively be more of a wiring problem than a chemical problem for a layman's description. And a lot of what I've read said empathy is even effective with paranoid schizophrenics. People, regardless of how disarray the circuitry in their head is, it helps them on some level to feel understood. So empathy is just about making somebody feel understood. Example, when I'm working terrorism, we had a lot of Arab Muslims testify in open civilian court against a legitimate Muslim cleric who was also a criminal, who also committed crimes. And I would sit down with them and I'd say to them right off the bat, because I know where they're coming from, you believe that there's been a succession of American governments for the last 200 years that have been anti-Islamic. And they'd look at me and they go like, yeah. I never said it was true. I never said I agreed. I never said I disagreed. By me simply articulating what their perspective on the interaction was, they were so startled by it. It was empathy. And we were so good at that, empathy, frequently in that time frame, they would say, are you Muslim? And I'd say, no, I respect the religion. If you need to know, I'm a Christian, but I respect your religion, and I got no problem saying to you where you're coming from. That's empathy, from my definition. And then it becomes an unlimited skill. I don't have to feel it. I don't have to necessarily want to do anything about it. Goleman says there's cognitive empathy, me just recognizing where your emotions are coming from. There's emotional empathy, me feeling your emotions. And there's empathic concern, me wanting to do something about your distress. My version of tactical empathy probably brings those into play in sequence on a continuum of sorts, but none of them are precursors. It's just me showing to you that I understand where you're coming from. And it has a phenomenally favorable impact on the interaction.